Now you're watching Al Jazeera. We're bringing you live pictures from the Senate floor in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, where the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has been talking initially about the security preparations that were in place at the Capitol on January the 6th when the riots there took place. He then went on to start talking about the filibuster mechanism, which is a political mechanism by which senators are able to essentially talk out any part of legislation which is placed before them. I believe it requires a minimum of 60 votes to pass. But I want to get more details on this from Heidi Jo Castro, who's been listening to this. Heidi, just bring us up to date, if you can, on the importance of the filibuster mechanism in this and why it matters so much at this time.
Well, Rob, as you know, right now, there is a Democratic majority in the Senate, but by the thinnest of margins. It's 50-50, in fact, the number of senators of both parties, but we have that key tie-breaking vote of Vice President Kamala Harris. And so most legislation going forward needs to be bipartisan because, as you mentioned, there's that filibuster rule that's been in place that would require more than just the simple majority. Now, what some have called the nuclear option is for the leader, Chuck Schumer, to remove that rule, which would give Democrats the ability to essentially force through their agenda on that slimmest of margins if every single Democrat plus the vice president votes for a certain piece of legislation. That is something that Joe Biden appears to be adverse to. He, of course, has just been sworn into office, and he campaigned on unity. He's told voters that he would be able to bring together both parties and finally see some bipartisan action here in Capitol Hill that's been missing throughout all of Trump's years and much of Obama's as well. So there's still much discussion. This rule, this procedure to get rid of the filibuster, if that were to take place, would be significant in that it would give Democrats the ability, again, to pass through their legislation, given the current makeup of Congress, without having to convince any Republicans to join them.
Heidi, I do want to ask you something that is probably more important. The fact that just prior to Mitch McConnell speaking, we heard Chuck Schumer just briefly talking about the fact that Nancy Pelosi is going to bring in the impeachment action on Monday. Now, this, of course, is the impeachment against President Donald Trump.
And that's the closest that we've gotten from anyone as far as the next step timeline, because, of course, the thing we're waiting on now is for Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, to transmit that article of impeachment. She would not say yesterday when that would happen. And now, as you mentioned, Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, has just said that transmission will occur Monday. So what happens after that? Well, we would expect that the Senate has until the following day, that's Tuesday, to go back into session and start discussing the shape that this impeachment trial will take. That is squarely within the power of Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader now of the Democrats, to craft how he wants this trial to happen. We heard from the now Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, giving out his proposal for how he would like Trump's impeachment trial. He doesn't want this trial to begin until mid-February in order to give the former president's attorneys time to come up with a defense. We're not exactly sure how Chuck Schumer or the remaining Democrats feel about that, though it may actually play to the Democrats' favor, too, given that they want the Senate to be able to finish this confirmation process for Joe Biden's cabinet. So still unclear exactly how this trial will take place, but the most solid piece of information we've got to hang our hats on at this point is that on Monday, the article of impeachment, which charges former President Trump with inciting insurrection, will be marched across the Capitol Rotunda and delivered to the Senate, which is the first step in setting up for that trial that at this point is proposed to begin in mid-February.
Heidi, thanks very much indeed. That's Heidi Jo Castro bringing us up to date from the Capitol.